This is a short summary of Patrick Lecture 121, Displacement, Substitution, and Superimposition. And the focus in week 2 is on avoidance and how it creates vicious circles. Vicious circles is mostly taught as a separate lecture, Patrick Lecture 50. I have a number of worksheets that I have accumulated about different ways to do this. Sometimes it's easier to just feel it, but sometimes it's important to write it down and to feel the dynamics that pull you back into versus allowing you to release and transcend and dissolve this cycle of feelings. In this lecture, in this section, the guide refers to there being false needs and real needs. Now, the false needs and real needs become intermingled. This happens in childhood. And so we can't tell the difference. And the false needs and the real needs will both bring criticism. Just because it's a real need does not mean that other people appreciate it. They may feel threatened by it. It may upset the dynamic of the family interaction. It may reveal things that the family doesn't want revealed. False needs may actually be encouraged as a substitution, and yet they're easily attacked and also put down. So they become intermingled so that as children, we can't tell the difference. And we just get criticized for our needs. Now, the unconscious knows the truth. It knows that a need might be false. It might be false simply because it's exaggerated, false because it's hiding and trying to go with something instead of being judged on its own merits, or that the false need is just not right. So we have this doubt. And in Patrick Lecture 77 on self-confidence, the guide teaches that the reason we don't have self-confidence is because there's this sense that something's not right. But rather than give it up or examine it further, we put in a forcing current. So the forcing current will take over in the case of a false need that we aren't willing to challenge. In terms of real needs contain a grain of truth that requires maturity and self-responsibility to verbalize with love and consideration of other people, which we don't have any of these tools as children. And so the real needs are treated as if they're false needs. And there's a sense of unfairness and injustice in this. And so the lack of getting the real needs met joins forces with the false needs in a forcing current. And so the forcing current carries both with it. In this section, the guide talks about how receiving is a very popular form of false needs and real needs to intermingle and create guilt. So the guilt about receiving can metamorphose or hide as a compulsion to give. If I give, I will either receive, or at least I will know I deserve to receive, which is a substitute for receiving, but best I can do. So the compulsion to give covers up the guilt for the need to receive, the real need to get your share, to be taken care of appropriately, to feel that you get something. It's a real need to feel all of these feelings. And so there becomes a desire to receive, which fuels this cycle of how do I get? Well, maybe I have to give to get, but that's a transactional bargain. That's not honoring the relaxed, honest receiving that we crave, that we desire. So there's a forcing current that's created, but it focuses on the how to get versus a genuine receptivity that needs to be honored and may be honored in imperfect human situations. And this is where we blame human beings, we blame the system, we blame individuals for not giving us what we really need. When the truth is, the spiritual growth is to learn what we need and to figure out how to supply it to ourselves. Basically, the need of an adult is to figure out how to feed itself with the help of others, without the help of others, with what is available versus what it desires, but to at least be able to feed itself spiritually. It's nice to be engaged with others, but we may need to take the burden of life onto ourselves periodically. The resentments that come from childhood will appear in the adult and simply act out whatever the drama was. So that's a short version of how avoidance of the work of self-analysis and figuring out what's really going on will lead us into vicious circles because we're avoiding finding out what the truth is. So that's our job as mature adults, to find out what the truth is and honor it, and let other people off the hook for not supplying it for us, standing in our way, or even teaching us the wrong thing. It's our job to straighten all this out. And it is joyous to find other people who understand life the way we are currently understanding it, who will help us with that process. What is important to me in this study of spirituality is to realize that to really go down and bottom out on a false belief, you need to have help dragging you down. So we surround ourselves with people who believe in these false realities, these false needs, false hopes, false ideas. And so we go further and further into them until we struggle for breath, struggle for the air of truth, and begin our rise to the surface. So thanks for reading the lecture. Seems to have struck quite a chord with the people who have given me feedback. Hope you enjoy it. Take care.